Straight ahead on CCX News, police search for a former Brooklyn Center woman accused of swindling hundreds of thousands of dollars from people in the Hmong community. We'll have details. Plus, pieces of holiday nostalgia you may recognize now on display in Plymouth. And later, a pro football star turned state Supreme Court justice, who's now a children's book author. CCX News starts right now. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. We begin with Brooklyn Park Police investigating the death of an infant.
Police have taken the baby girl's mother into custody. Police were called Monday afternoon to an apartment complex in the 6500 block of 67th Avenue North. There, they found a 16-day-old child not breathing.
Officers performed CPR for about 40 minutes and baby was pronounced dead at the scene. An investigation ensued after that with detectives arriving at the scene and conducting an investigation, and ultimately the detectives did arrest the mother of the infant for child endangerment.
The 30-year-old woman has not yet been formally charged, and as we went to air, police are not releasing any details of what led to the child endangerment.
Meanwhile, Brooklyn Center Police are investigating a case of a gun brought to Northport Elementary School. The gun was found in the student's locker. It was unloaded. Other students reported seeing the weapon and alerted staff. Officials say the student got the weapon from an unlocked safe at home.
A former Brooklyn Center woman has been charged with defrauding members of the Minnesota Hmong community by convincing them to invest in a phony ginseng farm. Authorities are looking for 48-year-old Mai Vu Vang. She's accused of a fraud that resulted in total losses of more than $450,000 involving 9 victims, and that includes one couple who knew Vang from church and gave her their life savings. Prosecutors say the fraud occurred between 2012 and 2014. Records show that at the same time, Vang spent more than $1 million at Mystic Lake Casino. If you know of Vang's whereabouts, you are urged to contact local law enforcement.
In Maple Grove, 2 liquor license holders are being penalized for failing an alcohol compliance check. For the Lund's Byerly store, it was the second compliance failure in 3.5 years. Council voted for a 2-day liquor license suspension and a $2,000 fine. Store representatives say they've put in new license scanners and have training planned to assure it won't happen again.
We put something in place and it is working so far. We still got work to do with our employees, and we admit to that. It ain't gonna happen overnight, but we feel like we're in a better place today than we were back in October when this happened.
The council voted for a similar punishment for a Pieology pizza restaurant, and the attorney for the owner, NFL player Matt Khalil, says they have stopped serving beer at the restaurant until the matter is straightened out.
If you have to travel into downtown Minneapolis on Wednesday, you will definitely want to plan ahead. Eastbound I-394 will be closed between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. The closures start at 11th Street. The detour routes drivers to I-94. The closure is not highway related, but rather a contractor that obtained a permit from MnDOT in order to search for an electrical problem. The closure does not affect westbound traffic.
In Maple Grove, there's a possibility for more homes and a new medical office or industrial park in the northern part of the city. Plans are very preliminary, but the City Council has begun focusing on 2 different parcels north of Highway 610 and East I-94. One parcel involves 21 acres of land owned by Northwood Community Church. The vision for that land includes the possibility of building a church, apartments, and villa-style townhomes.
We have not had plans submitted as of yet, so they could be submitted over the winter and into the spring, and we could see some development in the coming year.
Investments in city infrastructure would be needed to make the projects happen.
If you are in the market for a new car, here is a way to help a Brooklyn Center nonprofit. SEEP delivers Meals on Wheels to more than 100 seniors every day, and they've had a few local celebrities deliver meals this month to draw attention to Maury's Brooklyn Park Subaru Share the Love event. If someone buys a car and checks Meals on Wheels as a beneficiary, then the nonprofit gets $250. Representative Keith Ellison, Minnesota Lynx player Rebecca Brunson, and Brooklyn Park Police Chief Craig Envoltson have all delivered meals to local seniors.
This is a great opportunity to add a little bit to SEEP's bottom line at the end of the holiday season and make sure that we have the resources available to support our seniors who have given so much to our community and built it to what it is today. This is our way of giving back to them.
The promotion goes from now until January 7th. An outdoor Christmas display in Plymouth has become a roadside attraction.
As Delane Cleveland reports, the man behind the display is using a piece of nostalgia to raise money for a good cause.
A visit to Santa's workshop doesn't require a trip to the North Pole.
I think he's gone to a lot of work to make it look really nice and authentic, and I suspect this is just the beginning.
All you have to do is travel down Juneau Lane in Plymouth for a glimpse at this elaborate display featuring Santa's elves.
I think it's really interesting. Second year he's done it, and a lot of car traffic. This year especially, a lot more people coming by.
It turned out pretty cool.
The display is set up in front of the home of Matt Dunn. It's his way to spread some Christmas cheer and channel his inner Santa Claus.
Last year I had built the elf house for the Wayzata Plymouth Meals on Wheels, and that was an idea to bring awareness to the program and get some donations.
It's an idea that worked, but that was just the beginning. Much like Santa's elves, Matt has been hard at work on something special. This is the second year of the Meals on Wheels Elf House. Only this year the display has grown. He's added a piece of nostalgia that many Minnesotans will appreciate.
All this stuff from the Dayton's Macy's store came up for sale, and I said, well, that's a no-brainer. We got to go get some of it.
Matt purchased figurines from the 1989 Dayton's holiday display of Cinderella. And while they're not in perfect condition,
Cinderella's missing her thumb because that's the Screamtown portion of things.
This owner of a Halloween attraction called Screamtown created this new display for all to enjoy.
For me, it brings back great memories, and I know other people have come out to see it just for that reason, to say, hey, I remember this as a kid, and it brings that magic I felt as a kid to see this stuff.
Matt said it took about 30 hours to construct and paint the Cinderella display, but it's a small price to pay to bring joy to others this holiday season.
And I think people are just appreciative that something old like that is living on.
In Plymouth, Delane Cleveland, CCX News.
Well, Matt said he purchased 14 different pieces from the Dayton sale, so he intends to grow the display next year. Well, still ahead, we head to Robbinsdale Spanish Immersion School for today's School Spotlight.
Plus, with a new head coach and plenty of new players in the lineup, see how things are coming together for the Park Center girls basketball team.
But first, a chance for some light snow on Wednesday. Language immersion programs are growing in popularity.
And the only Spanish immersion school in our area is operated by Robbinsdale area schools. In today's School Spotlight, reporter Shannon Slatton shows us what it's like inside the Robbinsdale Spanish Immersion School.
The current home of Robbinsdale Spanish Immersion School is the old Sunny Hollow Elementary School.
And it makes it just a great, fun place for us to be.
Principal Elaine Medizade gave us a tour around RSI, where about 750 students in grades K through 5 learn how to communicate in Spanish.
About 90% of the time we are immersed in Spanish. So we get the joy of watching children who never spoke a word of Spanish in kindergarten understand what we're saying to them in Spanish by about the 6th week of school. So they understand what we're saying in Spanish, but they speak back to us in English.
Speaking Spanish begins right away in kindergarten.
It's lots of standing in your head, acting things out, having a lot of fun, trying to make fun with what you're doing, make it a game.
Teacher Molly Quinn can do that. She has been here since the program started more than 30 years ago.
It was brand new. It was very exciting. People weren't sure what they were really signing up for. It was myself and one other teacher.
The key is keeping classroom learning fun, like today when students are naming their new classroom pet.
So we've named the frog, and now they're doing a writing activity where they are writing about the frog.
Students chose Beto as a name for their frog. Intern Monica Martinez from El Salvador is helping out in this classroom today.
Teach them the correct way to speak Spanish and also have different things, cultural things that they don't know.
She is one of 10 interns from Spanish-speaking countries who help children with their Spanish.
You will hear some students speaking like a Colombian accent and some of them in Spain saying, a Spanish accent, you know, it's very funny.
This intern program is unique to RSI and is a school-wide effort. The PTO funds it. Interns are housed with local families, and other families pitch in to help with transportation.
We create so many bonds with people from all over the world.
By January, first grade students are speaking Spanish all day long. State standards are still the guidelines for learning.
And then when you go into second grade, by about November, we gradually integrate English literacy. 30 minutes a day in second grade, increasing gradually up until 5th grade, where it's 75 minutes a day.
Más rápido o más despacio? Mucho más rápido.
Teachers often let subjects overlap by teaching in thematic units, like this 4th grade science class. They are talking about the water cycle after reading a book about it.
Then we introduced a new word that is pollution. We previously have read a book in English called A Long Walk to Water.
Teachers say one of the most rewarding parts of Spanish immersion is seeing the aha moment, when students converse freely in another language, not exactly remembering what it was like when they couldn't speak Spanish.
It challenges both sides of the brain. It opens up the world to our children. We live in a global society, and it just opens so many doors for our kids and opportunities.
In New Hope, Shannon Slatton, CCX News.
Enrollment is on a lottery system. The school draws students from all 7 cities in the Robbinsdale district. Still ahead, a Minnesota Viking icon tells the story behind his perfectly perpendicular pinky.
But first, the Park Center girls basketball team gets set to face 2 highly ranked opponents this week. Jay Wilcox is in next.
I'm Jay Wilcox with sports. John Jacobson is on assignment. The Park Center girls basketball team has become a consistent winning program. With new head coach BARB METCALF leading the way, the Pirates haven't missed a beat this season, but they'll be challenged in a big way this week. With a mixture of veterans and talented young players and a new coaching staff, it's been mostly so far so good for the Park Center girls basketball team in a 4-1 start.
Yeah, I really like the way things are going. Some stuff is really new because we have a lot of new players, but it's been going really well.
I really like the energy that the kids bring, especially on the defensive end. I'm a true believer that defense really does fuel your offense. And so for me, being a coach of the Pirates, I'm pretty, I would say, happy with the intensity that the kids bring on the defensive side of things. I think what I've been most pleased with is this really is kind of a new team together, because we did lose some really talented seniors, as you do every year.
This is a tough week for the Pirates. They face 7th-ranked Maple Grove on the road Tuesday night and then host #1 Hopkins Thursday. While it's still early in the season, those 2 games will be a good indication of what the Pirates have this season.
We take every game serious because they're all big games to us, and we just want to perform our best.
It's really important for our team. It's going to tell us like a lot about us because it's early and we have such a new group. We prepare every single day the same way, and we are always competitive, so I think that'll help.
Every game's big to me, and I guess, you know, it's kind of nice when you're able to gauge how your team is early on in the season. So we're pretty lucky to have a schedule where we play Maple Grove on Tuesday, and then we have Hopkins coming to Art House on Thursday. And so, yeah, you know, it's early in the season, so it's good to gauge where you're sitting as far as other talented squads.
Park Center's been in the state tournament the past 4 seasons, winning state class 3A titles in 2014 and 2015. The players have learned that all of the tests along the way are about getting better come tournament time. After the 2 tough tests this week, the Pirates will be home for the holidays next week as they host a 2-day tournament. Champlin Park, Cretin-Durham Hall, Minnetonka, Rogers, and Simley will join Park Center at the Pirates Holiday Tournament next Thursday and Friday, December 28th and 29th. Well, 10 days ago in London, Osseo native Caleb Truax was crowned the new IBF World Super Middleweight Boxing Champion when he beat James DeGale. After spending a few extra days in England, he's now back in the States. Jason Malillo caught up with the new champ for a story airing on Sports Gem this week on CCX. Here's a clip from that story.
On Sunday at LUPULIN Brewing in Big Lake, the new super middleweight champion of the world celebrated with family and friends. 2 Saturdays ago in London, Caleb Truax pulled off arguably the biggest upset of the year in professional boxing when he beat James DeGale for the IBF World Super Middleweight title.
Oh man, it's not going to get old, that's for sure. Everybody that's saying it to me, I always tell them, say it one more time. So it's a great feeling, and a lot of hard work went into these last 14 years basically, and now it's like the culmination of everything.
Going into the fight, Truax knew he couldn't outbox DeGale. The Brit was too slick. So Truax and his team focused on being aggressive and pressuring DeGale. That game plan worked perfectly.
As soon as the second round ended, I was clapping my hands and saying, that's what we need to do all night long. I came up to him, and a lot of times I'll give him a lot of technical instructions in the corner. This fight, I didn't really have to. I just had to keep him on the game plan.
Here comes Truax again.
And you can see the rest of that story and much more this week on Sports Jam. It airs through Wednesday at 3:30, 6:30, and 9:30 p.m. here on CCX. Truax will likely defend his title this spring. The venue and opponent are yet to be determined. Well, as we enter this holiday weekend, we have 3 big game broadcasts for you this week here on CCX Sports. Tuesday night, the Maple Grove girls hockey team will be in action against Anoka. Watch it live on TV and online at 7 o'clock, or catch the replay Wednesday night at 7. Thursday, the Osseo boys hockey team makes the short trip to Brooklyn Park Arena to take on Totino Grace. Watch it live at 7 or see the replay Saturday at 1 and 7. Friday, the Maranatha Christian Academy boys basketball team hosts St. Agnes live on CCX. That game replays Saturday at 4 and 10. That's all for sports. CCX News continues in a moment.
And finally, a Minnesota icon catches the attention of second grade students at the Brookdale Library.
Breakfast is my favorite meal of the day. Nothing can come between me and my syrupy pancakes.
Well, you may know Alan Page as a Minnesota Viking Purple People Eater or as a former member of the state Supreme Court. Along with those impressive achievements, Page is now an author. Page and his daughter Kami have written 3 children's books, and one of them is titled Alan and His Perfectly Pointy, Impossibly Perpendicular Pinky, which makes light of an old NFL injury. Well, Page believes reading is vital to anyone's academic performance.
If you can learn to read, and if you do read, you're learning also how to think critically, because it requires you to analyze what you're reading, and you have to sort of figure out what you're thinking.
State Senator Chris Eaton of Brooklyn Center and Hennepin County Commissioner Mike Opat were also at today's reading event. Every time I see him, I see that I saw his hand once, and his pinky does go a little bit that way.
Something to see, that's for sure. Such a role model, though.
Yeah, a very, very nice gentleman as well. That's it for now. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
We will see you back here again tomorrow, starting at 4 o'clock.